Cole, you state in your platform that equity, access, and opt-in is a priority in your campaign. How do you plan to implement this?
Wonderful. So I think opt-in is very simple there. When we all pay our ancillary fees, which we may not know is $1,700, $1,770. And we think, where does those ancillary fees go? We look where we spend them and what we do with them, and the majority of students, vast majority of students, can't tell where they go. It's important to me to ensure that the money you spend goes somewhere you understand, somewhere where you genuinely see the benefit. It's almost like opting into insurance in a sense, where those ancillary fees that you pay are ones in which you elect to pay and have a choice in paying. And with that, I'll leave it there.
Steve, you mentioned that the reintegration of professional programs is an important goal for your campaign. Can you identify the specific ways you plan to reintegrate these groups?
Of course, yes. So a lot of students from consults did not know that med, education, dent, and law students are all under the USC. As Cole stated earlier, they pay the exact same ancillary fees as the rest of us do, $1,771 this year. For the average professional student, if they didn't do an undergrad at Western, they have no idea what the USC is. And even for the students who graduate with a degree here, they might not be aware that they're covered under the USC. One specific area that I want to address is to make the professional councils much more aware of the faculty and affiliate council grant, which is pegged at $4.73 this year. With this money, the professional councils can fund more of their events and that they can be more supportive of their student clubs as well. Now, this process is hard because even faculty councils like us have a troubled time getting this money and budgeting and receiving the application forms. So with that, I think that this is one way that I want to actually support all the professional councils and allow them more money to support all their student initiatives. Thank you.
Saja, you are notably the only candidate who does not plan to introduce big-ticket student experience items. Why did you choose not to include these on your platform?
Yeah, so I think the USC provides a lot of really fun things, and I don't plan on taking away any of those fun things, but I think we really need to focus on what's happening right now. The University Student Council has not at all acknowledged the fact that disabled students are not recognized. They're not fought for. At Western, they have not met the legal obligation to disabled students. Why are we not talking about that? Why is that something that is not in the limelight? We have students here that are fighting food insecurity, housing issues, affordability crisis, and we're not putting any money towards that. You guys give student fees so that the USC can support you, and you just assume that the money that we have left over is going to these fun things. But it's not. We're focusing too much on fun things and not what's actually happening. We're drowning it all out with the sound of concerts and more fun, but there's students here that are struggling. People that need help, and I want to focus on that. I want to put the limelight on the accessible education department and make Western do something, make Western change something. I want to bring food accessibility because you all deserve to have food. I want to bring help and affordability in life.
Thank you. You have a different leadership experience than conventional USC presidential candidates. How do you feel this helps you connect with the student body?
So I basically got no leadership experience, but I think that helps me better align with the students who don't typically vote in USC elections. The ones who don't vote in USC elections are obviously not involved in USC politics and don't have a need to vote. So I'm here to provide that excitement factor, that the ones that really get ones to vote, because I don't think that typically exists in the traditional USC politics. Those who are going for traditional issues and the betterment of campus. Obviously, I am going for the betterment of campus, but I don't think that kind of aligns with the traditional students that don't vote in USC elections. So my goal is to reinvigorate the campus nightlife, reinvigorate the campus socialization factor that currently exists but could be improved. And I'm looking to improve the student experience without tampering much with the existing features of the student life.
Mia, your platform point proposes clubs would not be de-ratified due to the individual actions of general members. How do you plan to ensure USC ratified clubs maintain USC safety standards under this process?
Yeah, so this is in more of a case-by-case situation. And what I really identified was that in the past, clubs have been unfairly punished for the actions of individual students. And I don't think that people should be punished for all of the hard work the executive teams have put in, as well as the presidents too, that one slight mishap, leads to the de-ratification of an entire organization. And so with that, it's a case-by-case situation. We're going to do our due diligence in making sure that ultimately the club's governance board does have final say, and it will be, contextually looked at. However, I just wanted to protect our club execs, our club presidents that have put countless hours into work for their clubs, for fun programming, and making sure that those events happen for their students in protecting them. And so I think that this is something that will ensure that we can have students on campus having fun events and knowing that they're going to be protected no matter what.
Cole, you plan to introduce a refund policy that will allow students to receive a 50% discount on club memberships until January. How will you ensure clubs are able to keep enough cash on hand to allow for this while still being able to operate events throughout the fall semester?
Wonderful. I won't. If you operate a club that doesn't pride yourself on member retention all the way until January, you operate a club that's frankly undemocratic towards the students in which you're applying to. We see many clubs often target first-year students when it comes to their membership to see first-year applications. You must be a member to apply to be a first year. And we go all the way until January without having run an event once. I was once on the USC Finance Committee, and you see clubs simply need to run 3 events throughout the year. If you run 3 events in second semester, it's fine. If you have first-year students, for instance, I'm just looking at a targeted group, who apply to be in a club, they pay their $10 fee, let's say for instance, and they don't see anything up until January. I think there should be a refund, 50% of their money invested, should they have accepted in September, that $5 back in fees, rather than simply waste it on funding
That's
clubs
all the
that
time
they're
we
not
have
invested
for,
in.
Cole. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Jessica.
So like Cole said, that's not a huge concern of mine. I think as long as I promote the same events, the same cool things that I plan on implementing on campus, as long as it's implemented with the Brescia students in mind, which it is, I see that as no issue, and they will be accommodated accordingly.
Thank you, Hunter. Next is Steve.
My plan to advocate for Bill 33 implications is twofold, because at the same time, I want to increase your awareness and transparency of these student fees. Bill 33 implications means that the provincial government now has the power to make any student fee opt-outable of. After consultations with the Vice President External Affairs of the USC and other stakeholders in the USC, I've identified a plan and how we can combat this twofold. Number one, when's the last time you took a look at your ancillary fees? What exactly does student health or wellness mean? For my consultations, a big misconception was the fact that when people think they opt out of Purple Care, they're ineligible for student health and wellness clinic at Thames Hall. We have to recognize that right now, these fee schedules are findable online, but very inaccessible for students. As USC president, I want to make clear, digestible guides for you to empower how to find and use your ancillary fees, even though they're not opt-outable of, and give you a way to take back this power of your health at the same time combat Bill 33 implications. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We'll go on to our third and final question of this round. What platform point of yours are you the most proud of? We'll start with Saja.
I'm the most proud of the advocacy for the disabled students on campus. I feel really sad that nobody here is acknowledging that in the 2021 review of Western's Disability Office, they failed to meet the legal standards of accessibility to the students here. These are students that have not been fought for. The USC is supposed to be here to represent everybody, but we're not here to fight for everybody, it seems. If we put the pressure on Western and acknowledge that they're doing this, they'll have to do something. But because nobody's doing it, they're getting away with it. These students are suffering every single day on this campus, and we still don't acknowledge it at all. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's putting any precedent toward it. And I don't get why, because these students are students too. They pay their fees, just like everybody else, the fees that we use for the other fun things that they can't even attend. What events are we doing? Who are they for if these people can't even come to these events? What if they're stuck, they don't receive the right accommodations to anything? It makes no sense, and this is what we need to be fighting for. This is what the USC needs to be here for, is for these students, for every single student.
Thank you, Saja. Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia.
The platform point that I'm most proud of would be the implementation of a Good Samaritan policy. And what this means is that in times of need in relation to drug overdoses or overuse of alcohol, a student will never be punished for calling for help like CERT or 911 over their academic sanctions. And this is already implemented in the Government of Canada, but not on our campus. So students can be academically sanctioned for the use of alcohol and drugs, especially on residence. And this is a problem, especially as a heads off. We see this all the time. First years think that, oh, I can't call for help even though my roommate's in a time of need because I don't want them to get in trouble. I experienced this with my roommate when we were driving home from Richmond Row one night and saw girls on the side of the road that didn't want to call for help because they had already received a letter about what might happen if they were to do something like this again. And so this just ensures that there's not going to be any misconceptions. You're going to know I can always call for help and I'm always going to be okay and Western will protect me. So life is expensive. We all know this. Unfortunately, this is a very important question. But what I think the solution to this is town-gown relationships. So kind of like Steve was saying about the LTC kind of gap he wants to bridge there, I think the solution is making things more affordable that students are already having to pay for. We address this with Spoke Rewards. We address this with our Western SPC platform point. What we want to do is pair with more London communities and more London businesses to, encourage our students to go get their resources locally, but also at a more affordable price. And so in, making things cheaper that you're already paying for, it does lighten the burden there. And I think that we're going to feel these day to day. We're going to feel this when I go to Spoke and I have my free coffee, even though I shouldn't be spending any of my money there anyway. But I think that's just one way to make things a little bit easier because realistically, we can't have a big impact on the economic state of the world, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
I think that with this question, everybody here needs to think of one thing, and that's why is the USC already not doing something for affordability? My entire campaign is built off of affordability. We talk about free soup and bread kitchens. We talk about value menus. We talk about emergency housing support. We talk about grants for students that need things like hearing aids and wheelchairs. We talk about grants for students that want to further their education through the MCAT, the LSAT, the DAT, things like that. This is what we should already be doing. This shouldn't be a question that they're asking us right now because this is where your money should be going. You need to hold the USC accountable and see that this is something that should already be happening. Why is it not happening? It's because of a repeated history of USC presidents coming in here and not acknowledging these things and focusing on things like concerts and parties, which are all great to have, but not when students are suffering, not when students are asking you, how are you going to help affordability? Why is it not already done? You need to refocus what's actually you're thinking about here and why the USC isn't already doing this. Why is my money not going where it should be going?
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Wonderful. I think it's faulty to say that grief life is the cause of these whatever injuries that we've seen in the past. But I also agree that Greek life is not something we should integrate in the USC. I think Greek life thrives because it's not integrated into the USC. And that integration will result in the Greek life community we have overall on this general Western campus being that not of those we traditionally perceive as being Greek life, but more rigid when it comes to the USC clubs, for instance. And I think that's something that Greek life doesn't want, to be honest with you. Greek life is not something that should be integrated in the USC. I think Greek life, frankly, thrives not being integrated in the USC, and it should continue to do so as we move forward throughout history. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
So admittedly, I haven't read any of the other candidates' platforms, and that's because I'm trying to stay in my own lane. I'm trying to remain relatable to the other students that typically don't vote in the USC elections. I'm trying to stay true to them. I'm not impacted by any other candidate policy. I am staying in my own lane. And so I think that my campaign policy, my platform, is a small, actionable list that I believe is actually implementable within the one-year term. I believe that any candidate policy that is perhaps larger than mine might not be feasible within that one-year term. I believe that's more a wish list than it is a platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.